So today we're going to do the handover video on the Chausson Welcome 716. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, opening up the passenger door, you'll notice you've got your fill-up points. To access these, as I say, you do need to open the door, and you'll notice you've got your diesel up at the top, along with the AdBlue, which is just below. AdBlue is an additive for the diesel tank. That'll need topping up when you get a little warning symbol, or warning light rather, on the dash, just to indicate when that needs filling up. Whilst we're here, you'll notice on this vehicle you've got your Emm-Bee cab blinds. To operate these, all you need to do is simply pinch the little clip and pull out. I find that it's a lot easier if you lead from the bottom and then connect it up with the magnetic strip. You've got them on all of your windows in the cab, and as I say, if you lead from the bottom, just like so, it doesn't run the risk of them getting caught or tangled up. Now, as a rule of thumb in a motorhome, if something feels like it's being forced, you are probably doing something wrong, so please bear that in mind. Just reevaluate what you're doing and simply do it again, but just with a bit more care. Now, coming away from the passenger side and underneath the bonnet, to open up the bonnet, all you need to do is put your key in here and turn it like so. Turn it to unlatch, and then once you've got two hands, a little bit difficult for me to do it at the moment, but you need to turn it the other way and then simply lift up the bonnet. I'll do that now and open the bonnet so I can show you the items underneath. Okie dokie, with the bonnet open, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here, but the main things are if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. If that is the case, your positive goes onto this terminal here, which is underneath the cap, as indicated by the positive sign, and your negative, as indicated by the sticker here, just connects onto this metal ring just at the back there, and that's for your negative. Other things just to point out is your engine coolant is here. You've then got over here your power steering fluid, your brake disc fluid, your dipstick, and then your engine oil. Finally, your washer fluid is just there underneath that cap. Coming away from the bonnet, you'll notice that you've got your gas bottle locker here. The important thing with gas is you must know to turn it off at the bottle when travelling. Never run the gas when you're travelling, due to obviously safety, so only turn the gas on when you are stationary and set up on site. You'll notice that you've got a Fiamma awning which is on the side of the vehicle here. On the awnings, you'll notice you've got a little clip which, using the awning pole, will clip onto there and simply wind out. You've two legs on the inside of the awning which will drop down, so wind the awning out to a point where you can reach it and flip them legs down. Using the legs, you can then let them take the weight of the awning and walk the awning out by simply angling the legs and walking it out, and that'll come out approximately 3 meters, 2 to 3 meters. Now, one important thing with the awning is to always make sure that if it is windy, you are taking it back in, because as you can appreciate, this is a massive sail, so if you get any wind underneath there, it could potentially run the risk of snapping the bracket and tearing the awning, so do bear that in mind. Taking it in is the exact same as taking it out, just vice versa. Angle the legs and put them back in. Coming across, you've then got your fridge vents, which are here and here. Your fridge vents is where your fridge, where the fridge pulls its air from to obviously cool the system. Now, as you can appreciate, if it's a hot day and you've got the sun beating down on this side of the vehicle, it's not going to work as efficiently. So bear that in mind. It might be worth pulling out your awning or keeping this area in shade just to give it a little bit of help. Now, next to that, you've got your WC, which is your cassette toilet. I'll open your cassette toilet up now. With the locker door open, it gains you access to the cassette. Now, to remove this, all you need to do is pull up and remove out like so on the handle. That will then release the cassette. What I'll do is I'll pull the cassette onto the ground here, and just to show you how to empty it. So with the cassette out, as you can see, you've got the funnel which is at the front here. To empty this, all you need to do is simply just remove or slide out the funnel like so and remove the cap. Using the orange tab at the back, or the orange button, click that and that will release a vacuum which is internal to the vehicle, emptying all the contents out. Once you've done that, you can put a bit of water in here just to wash out the system. And then it is worth mentioning, if you was to remove this cap, you can put your blue fluid in the top of the cap just to top that up for your toilet chemical. Once you've done that, fold the funnel back in and you can take this straight back in. Now you will notice that you have got another toggle here, which is an orange toggle. This does move, as you can see. This needs to stay in this position. You should never need to move this. This is in essence what makes contact with something called the blade on the inside of the vehicle, which will open and close the cassette. Now, I'll get into more detail on the inside about the blade because it's really important, but you need to always make sure the blade is open, closed rather, for you to remove the cassette. When it's closed, it puts this into this position and you can therefore remove it. As I say, that should always stay in that position, because if you do move that off or line by accident, the cassette won't go in correctly and you do run the risk of breaking it. So always make sure it's in that position. Now to put away, simply pick up the cassette, line it up and slide it in like so until the little handle clips in, and then from there you can slide in the funnel like so. Moving away from the cassette, you'll notice you've got an external barbecue point, which is here. Worth mentioning that it'll only work obviously with your gas turned on at the bottle. You can then twist the red cap to feed the gas through, and then underneath here you have got a little sticker which indicates a drain down point for the wastewater. As you can see, that directly underneath the sticker you have got that grey pipe with a black handle on it. To empty this, pull that black handle towards you and that'll empty it and drain down the wastewater tank. Now in the vehicle you have three main drain down points. You have your freshwater drain down point, your wastewater drain down point and your boiler drain down point. Your wastewater drain down point is here, your freshwater is on the other side, which I'll show you later on, and your boiler drain down point is internal to the vehicle, which again I will show you. Now each drain down point is extremely important. Please make sure that you drain down the vehicle before moving off site and when you're storing the vehicle, because if you don't, you do run the risk of this of the water freezing, especially in the colder months, as you don't use the vehicle. Now when you're on site, you will have a massive grid that you can open and jump all the water out. Now once you've done that and the majority of water has been removed from the system, you can leave all your drain down points open, because as you're travelling home, the vibrations of the road are going to get all that water out of the vehicle. And as I say, it's only water, so it's not including any harmful chemicals, so it can't do any damage to the road. Now moving on, at the back you have got your big locker, which I'll open up for you now for your storage. With the locker door open, you can see that you've got upright storage here, which you can divide into sections, along with the big bulk of the storage which is at the back, with the contents for the ladders and the packs and everything. Your awning pull is also located back here. Coming to the back, this vehicle has got a bike rack fitted, along with a reversing camera which is up at the top. And moving along, you'll notice you have another garage door here to access the garage space at the back. Moving on, you have next got your 230 volt hookup point, so when you're on site you can hook up to a mains electric and get power to the vehicle. And next to this we've got a larger storage container, and this holds the this is called rather the convenience locker, which holds your electrics and your freshwater tank. You'll notice that we've got another one of these stickers which indicates a second drain down point for your freshwater, as I mentioned on the other side. I'll open this locker up now and show you how to do that. So with the locker open, you gain access to the freshwater tank. Freshwater tank is dead simple to fill. All you need to do is pull out this neck, unscrew the cap and put a food grade hose pipe into the tank. Once you've then filled this up, it'll start spurting out and you can then put the cap back on and lock it into place like so. Now you have got a big black cap here as well, so for example if you have drained down the system and you wanted to clean out the unit, you can do, so you can remove this and get your hand in and give it a good clean. However, I do not recommend drinking out of the freshwater tank due to the plastic. You can buy purifying tablets if you wanted, but as I say, I personally wouldn't recommend drinking out of the freshwater tank. Now, a really good system with Chausson, as I mentioned, you've got the freshwater drain down point, which is directly below. But what you have got included in this vehicle is a quick drain down freshwater tank, for your freshwater tank rather. You'll notice that you've got a brown little switch here, which flicks down and flicks up. In the up position, what you can do is you can drain the entire system down to 20 litres. This approximately takes 120 litres, this tank. So for example, if you was moving off site and you're moving to a site where you didn't know whether you're going to get any water, or you was going back home and you wanted to keep a bit of water in the van for a brew, you can do, but they recommend that if you are travelling with water, travel with 20 litres of water due to payload and weight distribution. So with that in mind, if you're at 100% here, flick this little brown tab up, go onto the inside of the vehicle and turn your pump on, and that'll drain down the entire system to 20 litres. Now, more often than not, you're going to want to drain down the entire system altogether, so this will be redundant. With that in mind, underneath, as indicated by the sticker, as I mentioned before, you have a little pipe. So underneath the vehicle, as I say, you can see that you've got two pipes at the front here, two blue ones, and then another blue one which is just at the front here. This front pipe here is the drain down point for the fresh water, and these two at the back are just simply breather pipes. They don't need to have anything on, they just remain loose, so just leave them like that. As I say, that front one is the one that you need, and that is for your fresh water. Somewhere in the vehicle you'll have a little plastic bung which will slot onto there and stop the water from pouring out. And then when you want to drain down the entire system, simply remove that little plastic lug, and that will allow you to drain down the entire system. It's dead simple. Now, moving on from the water system and the drain down points, you have got your electrics on the other side. You've got your 230 volt RCD breaker, which is here, so if the vehicle ever trips you can come to this point here, and then you've got your fuses which are on this other side here. Now, a really good trick is, or advice rather, is if you've got a little test button at the top there. So for example, if you're in the vehicle and you can't get any power to the vehicle, what you need to do is come to this unit here and click that test button. If these buttons flick down, you are getting power to the vehicle, so there's therefore not a fault with your hookup cable or the site that you're using. There's a simple fault with the inside of the vehicle, so it's your van that's at fault. So from there you can check all your fuses and check that they've not blown. So it's really simple and easy to do. Moving away from the convenience locker, you'll notice you've got a Truma vent here. Now, when travelling, you need to make sure that this vent remains on like so, as it is now, so no bits of rubbish or dust or anything gathers in the vent. However, when you're stationary and you're using the vehicle's heating, and this is for the Truma boiler, so this is running your heating for your water. A lot of people get this confused and think it's for the vehicle heating, but it's not. That runs off a separate system. But if you're just running the water heater itself, you need to remove this cap. I'll do that for you now. As you can see, with the cap removed, then gains you access to the vent. And that should always be like that for when you're stationary and using the vehicle or using the heating system for the water. But when travelling, pop that cap back on just to ensure nothing gets in there. Now, what some people do, they'll forget to remove this cap when using the heating system, and they'll therefore gas out the system. Once you've gassed out the system for 3 times, it'll shut off and you'll have to reset it, so try not to do that because it is a bit of a faff. Next to that, you've finally got your external shower point, which is just using a bayonet fitting there, which clips onto there, and you can use the external shower. So it's dead simple. Of course, you'll need to have water in the vehicle and your pump on for that to work, but then you can hose yourself down and hose the dog down. One thing that I did forget to mention as well, just coming back over to the convenience locker, underneath you'll notice that you have got a little metal exhaust pipe. That is a separate exhaust for the heating system on the inside, because this vehicle uses 2 heating systems. It uses a Webasto system for the vehicle heating and a Truma system, as indicated on the cap there, for your water heating. This is simply for the vehicle heating on the inside, and as I say, that's a separate exhaust. Do be careful, that can get quite hot, so be careful when obviously you're draining down and things. Now, coming on to the inside of the vehicle, you'll notice straight above the habitation door area you've got your fly screen, which is just on there, along with your control panel, which is at the top here. For your control panel, you've got your main isolator button here. If I hold that, that turns on and off your lights, or turns the control panel on, as you can see. Next to that, you've then got your light button, which is the internal lights. You've then got your pump button, which will activate the pump. Now, whilst we're on the topic of the pump, you need to make sure that there's water in the vehicle before running the pump. Don't run the pump without any water, because you'll simply burn it out after some time, so please make sure that there's water in the system. Once you're on site, you've got water in the van, click your pump on, and then go to your taps, including your shower, turn them on and turn them to hot. What that will do is it'll pull water from the freshwater tank and into your boiler. It'll then put it out of the tap and it'll spurt and splutter, and then when it's running steadily, you have primed your system for your hot water. Once you've done that for the hot water, flick the tap over to cooled, and do the same, and it'll spurt and splutter, and then once it's running steadily, you've primed your system. As I say, you need to do this for all your taps just to make sure everything is primed. And the reason I say that you do it on your hot water first is you've got a trimmer boiler in this vehicle, and as you can appreciate, it never gets the vehicle up to temperature really quickly, or the water rather. It's going to take good half an hour or so to get it up to temperature. So if you arrive on site and that is the first thing you do, by the time you are ready to want hot water, it should already be in that boiler making heat and generating heat rather. So that's the reason we do that. Now, coming back over to the control panel, and next from the pump, you've got a little awning light which is there, and that turns on and off the door light on the outside. So they're the more functional buttons, and at the bottom these are more of your indicator buttons. Your indicator buttons consist of your habitation battery level. We're not plugged in at the moment, but you can see we're at a good level there. Your vehicle battery level, which is the next one, again similar, and then finally your freshwater level. Now, we've nothing really in the freshwater tank, hence why it's reading 0, but as you can see, just through pressing it, it just activates that and shows you your level. When your freshwater, your wastewater rather, is full, you'll get a red light next to the wastewater, which just indicates here, just indicating that you need to, of course, empty it. You have got a brightness setting here to alter the brightness of the screen, so you can use that. Now, coming over and coming away from the control panel onto your heating system, as I mentioned out on the outside, this vehicle uses a Webasto heating system for the internal heating of the vehicle, which is separate to obviously your water heating. To operate this, it is dead simple. All you need to do is turn this dial all the way to the top here, and that will activate the heating. It'll then begin pulling it through, and because it's pulling so much power through, your lights in the vehicle will begin to flicker. It'll do that for about 15 minutes. After that, after 15 minutes, it'll settle down and start heating the vehicle up. You can then obviously change the dial depending on how much temperature you want to use. One thing worth noting as well is when you do turn it off, because the vehicle, or the system rather, is powering down, your lights again will flicker for approximately 15 minutes because it is just powering down the system. Next, you've got a little sensor up here which indicates for your temperature. That's just for the Webasto heating system, and you've got little light buttons here, little light switches which turn on and off the lights around the vehicle. Now, moving into the kitchen area, you'll notice that you've got your fridge, which is up here. Now, your fridge is a really good system, but as you can appreciate, it doesn't pull as much power as a normal fridge at home. It does a very good job at maintaining the temperature, but not the best of jobs at getting something down to temperature. Now, with that in mind, you've got a freezer which is up at the top and a fridge below. For your freezer, if you want frozen things in there, put frozen things in, and if you want cooled things in the fridge, put cooled things in there. Now, to operate this, it is dead simple. Turn your button on, and that will turn the fridge on. Using the little touch button, you can then flick through the options like so. Now, this is a three-way fridge. Now, because the fridge is a three-way fridge, it means that there's 3 ways to power it. Now, with that in mind, the 3 ways are your 230 volt, which on here will indicate a little electric charger or plug. Your other option is a 12 volt leisure battery, which when you're wild camping, when you're travelling, you can run the fridge off, which, as I say, is indicated by a little battery symbol. Or finally, you've got the option of gas, running it off gas, which is a little flame symbol on the system or on the unit, which can be used when you're running off gas and when you're wild camping. Now, a lot of people think that when they're running the fridge, that they can run the fridge when they're wild camping off the 12-volt leisure battery. However, this is not the case. If that was, you'd simply drain the vehicle of all of its power due to the sheer amount of power that it pulls. You can only run the vehicle off its leisure battery when you're travelling, because this vehicle comes with a built-in alternator, which will send a feed of charge to the vehicle. To the leisure battery rather, which will ultimately power the fridge and allow it to stay on. Coming away from that, you'll also notice you have got the option of changing the temperature, and you can change the option of it venting, depending on where you want the air to circulate from. Now, coming above the fridge and into your cupboard here, you'll notice that you've got a couple of bits. You've got a max view aerial here, which, as indicated by the little button, is on at the moment. Turn that button off rather, and that turns it off. Turn it on, and that turns the system on. You've got a little dial on there as well, which you can turn depending on, obviously, your range. And at the top there, you have got motorhome Wi-Fi in this vehicle. Your motorhome Wi-Fi is dead simple. We'll set it up on the day. But in the back, you'll have a little SIM card, which will then connect to your device, and you can then begin streaming. Up at the top as well, you have got a solar panel regulator. That's what that box is there. You don't need to do anything with that. Leave that as it is. That is just simply to regulate the amount of power going into the leisure battery. Behind this unit, you have got your TV. Pull this little lever down. Pull this little clip forward, and that will dislodge the TV, and you can pull it out all the way. So opposite the fridge, you'll notice you've got storage underneath here with the little drawers, and also a big cupboard space. In here and around the vehicle, you may see these little grey taps. They're simply isolator valves. You don't need to do anything with them. Leave them as they are. Up at the top, you'll notice you've got your drop-down bed buttons along with a drop-down table function, and this is for the drop-down. These ones are for the drop-down bed at the front and the table at the front, and this is for the drop-down beds at the back. Now, to activate that, if you come all the way to the front and on the passenger side in the cab, you'll notice that you've got a little key which can turn there. If you turn that, that'll activate and allow you to drop the beds into position. When dropping the front bed, as you can see by the rail, this will allow you to drop the entire thing all the way. To do that, please make sure that the area is clear, and obviously you have got the table which is dropped down in the lowest position. Now, coming through to the back, you've got your bathroom here. Your bathroom, as I say, we've discussed about priming your system, but the main thing here is using your cassette. So when using the toilet, you need to make sure that the blade on the toilet is closed. Now, your blade is this piece of silver plastic here. Pull that towards you, and that will open the cassette. That'll allow all the waste to drop into the cassette. Once you've done that, click the blue button on the back there, which activates the flush, and that will flush the system. Once you've done that, push that away, and that will close the cassette. Now, you close the cassette for two reasons. One is to stop any odours from escaping, and two, it's to get into the habit of that being closed, so when you remove the cassette to empty it, you don't run into the issue of it snagging or getting stuck. Now, as I mentioned, you have got your pump, which is up here, your flush, which is the blue button. That will only work with your pump on, and when your cassette is full, you will get a red light to indicate that it is there. So moving away from the kitchen area and the bathroom area, you've got your seating at the back, and by sliding the two doors at the back gains you access to a big bulk of storage along with your hanging space, which is above there. You have got your shower on the other side. Now, just coming into the front before we conclude for today's video, you have got finally your boiler drain down point, which is here. This is the final drain down point in the vehicle, and to access that, just lift up this panel here where the seat is, remove the piece of wood which divides the space here, and as you can see on the little yellow clip here, this allows you to close and open the boiler drain down. In the closed position it is closed, and the up position it is open, so please make sure that it's like that when you are stop using the vehicle, because then that way you're not going to get any frozen water in the system. Now, to operate the heating for the boiler, for the water, obviously this is separate to your vehicle heating, you have got your controls here. So it's dead simple. If you're running the water off your gas, that is up at the top, so you control that using this switch here. And if you're running the heating off your electric, so you're on site, you run it off this control panel, which is just below here, as you can see. Now you have a couple of options with this. In this position in the middle, it is off, as you can see, and by using this little flick you can turn it on and off, which is dead simple.